Welcome, everybody, to tonight's program. Our speaker is Gary Packan. He is the new director of the Arlington Parks, Recreation, and Culture Department. Notice that a name change. The department is expanding, they're reconfiguring, and Gary's going to be telling us about that. One of the things that I noticed, according to the Arlington report, he is ready to prioritize the preservation of natural spaces and wildlife corridors, making room for them in the Arlington Booming Entertainment District, which I know this group would be happy to hear about his concern about prioritizing the natural spaces. Many of us work in those areas. He has a history of experience in the Parks and Recreation area. Over the last 20 years, he has been working um, first prior to this stint in Denton, Texas, as part of as their director, and prior to that, he was an assistant director here in Arlington. I'd like to let Gary talk about it. He's better prepared to go over it than I am. So, welcome, Gary.
Oh, welcome everybody. Thank you for inviting me. Michael DeBreck, Assistant Director of Park Planning Operations, is with us as well, so he might chime in as we go. Michael, can you hear us okay?
Yep. I
Okay.
got you, but I lost your PowerPoint, so you might want to hit your share screen again. Hello, everybody. Good to see y'all.
Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Absolutely.
All right. Can you guys see that?
Yep, you're good.
All right. I'm excited to be back. I started back in Arlington in November, kind of November 17th specifically. I worked here in as assistant director, as mentioned earlier, of enterprise programs from 2007 to 2018. And then I was in Denton for about 7.5 years, and I just came back. So I'm excited to be back. A lot of opportunities, a lot of things that happening too. So I'm excited to be a part of it. So a little bit a change has happened in the past couple of years with our department. Obviously, Parks Recreation, but we have two new family members. Animal Services joined us last year, and it's been a great opportunity to build and work together with them. They fit in really well with our department. And then new this year is Culture, which is basically the esports expo center where Arlington Museum of Art is currently located, as well as kind of our joint operations with everything in the entertainment district. So we're really looking forward to seeing what culture is going to be in our department. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on in the city, but how do we move forward with parks, recreation, and culture as a main anchor in our department? All right, so here's a kind of snapshot of everything that's going on with our department. Just kind of little numbers. We have 4,600 acres, 370 lane miles of medians and right of ways. We're about 30,000 volunteer hours a year, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Full-time employees were about 225, part-time about almost 800. Rounds of golf, we're running about 140,000 rounds of golf a year, which is extremely high. And then our budgets, we're floating a little over $50 million in budgets, and we have 103 parks. Just a recap on our facilities: four recreation centers, one athletic center being LZ Odom Recreation Center, four event or rental centers. Obviously, new to our team is the Expo Esports Center, which is a 100,000 square foot facility. Catherine Wildman, Lake House, Bob Duncan, and Meadowbrook kind of wrap that up and all provide different tiered level of service. We have four golf courses. Meadowbrook Park, obviously, being in our oldest park, which is 101 years old, or 102 years old, I guess. Two senior centers, obviously, East provides that service, but Active has, joined us a few years ago, and it's been extremely popular. I guess we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary of that facility being open. We just passed 12,000 members So we'll talk a little bit about that. We have 8 pools. Lake Arlington, we do help manage that as well. That's another 2,200 surface acres of water. Our tennis center, we're very proud of that facility. The Nature Center, which is operated by River Legacy. We have 2 restaurants, and I just added this today. We have a greenhouse that's getting up and running. So we're proud to have that part of our facilities. Other amenities, this is just kind of parks by the numbers. We maintain 91 sports fields, 114 miles of walking trails, 59 playgrounds, 45 tennis courts, 4 spray grounds, 3 dog parks, 2 paddling trails, one on the Trinity River and one on Lake Arlington. And then we have 1 disc golf course. So we have a huge inventory of resources that we provide to the community. Some of the areas that Michael takes care of. Michael, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I definitely can. We have a plethora of different types of parks in our system. Just to kind of give a brief description, a community park is something you would think of that you would go and stay for a little while, like a Veterans Park, Stovall, Patterson, things of that nature. A neighborhood park is meant for your neighborhood, basically, to walk to, play on the playground, walk on the trail, and go home. In our system, it's about 50-50 when it comes to acreage of community parks versus neighborhood parks. Obviously, there's more neighborhood parks in number, but from acreage, they're about equal. And then a lot of this group understand the nature preserves and the natural areas that we have. Our formal athletic complexes, we have 6. Those are like Cravens, Patterson, Randall Mill. You're talking ball fields and sports in those areas. And then, of course, we maintain the entertainment district and all of downtown. So we maintain around City Hall and around the municipal office tower and all the landscape and things of that nature. Our responsibility on medians and right of ways has changed. We used to maintain all of them. Now we just maintain the trees and the landscaping on them. The mowing and things of that nature are done through a different department now. So that's changed a little bit. And then something we're adding more and more of, we've done a lot of public art in the past, but we are adding more. And then now, of course, we've added a dog park and we have Lake Arlington and 2 community gardens now.
So just some by the numbers type of thing. So our 10-minute walk is one way that we measure if we have enough parkland, and make sure that's accessible to the public. This is done through Trust for Public Lands, and they're the kind of the one that's spearheading it across the country. The national average is about 55%, and it may change a little bit year to year. We're at 71%, so we're much higher than the national average. You can see us there in that orangish red. We're obviously towards the top of the list, but Flower Mound, Richardson, Plano, Dallas, and Louisville are ahead of us locally. Louisville is in the 80 percentile range, so they're doing really well. I know recently we've worked with the schools to make sure we have an agreement with them, so all of their facilities are accessible to the public. So we've added that, and that changed our number significantly. So this is one way to measure, making sure that our parkland isn't all clumped in 1 or 2 areas across the city, that it's kind of diversely spread out so everyone has access to green space. Some metrics. So we're spending a lot of time working on our metrics and kind of reinventing it a little bit per se. For a number of years, we've been working with the National Parks and Recreation Association. They have a program called Park Metrics, where all the departments that it's their opportunity to submit it, but we submit all of our data, and that is used in a massive database that we can compare ourselves against every department across the country. And then you can tune that into geographic region, type of government, population. So I think there's 9 or 10 different categories. You can kind of dig into the data and look at it from different angles. So here's a couple examples. So acres of parkland per 1,000 residents. and we have 4,600 acres, and we're at about 11.8 acres per 1,000 residents. So the average is 10.3. The upper quartile, so that top 25%, the average of the upper quartile is 15.1 acres per resident. So you can see we're just on a little bit better than the average across the country for municipalities that fall between 250,000 and 500,000 people. Then on the one on the right just kind of gives you a highlight on our miles of trails. So we have 114 miles of trails, which are doing really well. The upper quartile average is 111. So we're higher than the average of the top 25%. So we're doing really well there. A couple other measuring sticks. So these one on the left is your operating expenditures per acre of park and non-park sites. So the median is about just below $7,000 an acre. We're at 7,900 an acre, so we're slightly above the median. The upper quartile is 13,000. So you could see, kind of see where we sit across the country for our population, and then also the per capita revenue. So, Arlington Parks is extremely aggressive in our cost recovery initiatives, and we have been for years. So we generate a lot of revenue, much more than the average department. So we're at $44 per capita of revenue, where the upper quartile average is just shy of $35 per capita. So we're definitely on the higher end in our revenue generation, which helps offset our cost recovery initiatives. Any questions on any of those slides? Okay. Special events.
Sorry, I
Obviously,
have a
there's a
question.
ton. There's Grace. Did you have something?
Yeah, I was just wondering what percentage of your annual budget is recovered by fees and charges?
Yeah, I can look that number up here while we're maybe in discussions. I can pull that number for you.
Thanks.
Yep. Or maybe Michael can pull it while we're talking. From a special event standpoint, Light Up Arlington is a major event for us. Oktoberfest, Daddy Daughter Dance. We paused that this year, and we're looking at reinventing that in a different way. We provide a lot of support to community events, the Levitt Foundation and everything they do at Founders Plaza. We provide support for those types of activities. And we provide support for the downtown events, but you can see there's a plethora of activities here that take place throughout the community. We also help with Chris Kindle Market, which takes place in the entertainment district. Esports, we talked about this being new to the family. So the bottom photo on here was AEW wrestling, which was really neat. This happened past January. It was broadcast live on TNT. So if you're a wrestling fan, you could watch us live. But it was a really cool experience to see how they set up and how they ran that whole system. Obviously built in 1985, it's been part of the city for a number of years. 100,000 square feet. A portion of the building is leased out to the Arlington Museum of Art in helping them with their initiatives. They have an IndyCar exhibit down there right now. If you're interested in checking that out, that should be pretty cool. They're going to have an exhibit for the 150th birthday of the city, as well as one for the World Cup later this summer. I had mentioned AEW, but in the Museum of Art, but Game of Thrones is there right now. The United Football League is going to be here tomorrow and Friday. They're going to do all their filming of like the player introductions and all that you see on the screens in the stadium. They're going to be doing all that and taking photos of all the players at our facility. So one thing that took place a couple weeks ago, we had a dance and cheer event in the esports room, and that was one of the best days for the Arlington Museum of Art because there's so many people in the building, and they were kind of hanging around in between competitions, and they were patronizing that. So it was a good way to be able to see how the business within the building can help and support each other. So that was awesome. Animal Services, new to organization last year. Their facility's a little 20,000 square feet down in Southeast Arlington, providing a lot of services. They go out, they help the community with lost animals. They deal with enforcement. If there's animal abuse issues, they'll work on those. If there's concerns with the community that come up with cruelty investigations, they're helping there. They do numerous outreach events every single week to help get dogs and cats and animals adopt, pet licensing, all kinds of things. They work with rescues and other shelters to make sure that we're getting animals back into the community and making sure that transition goes well when they do get adopted. Some department challenges and opportunities. I think this is a really good slide to maybe pause and talk a little bit about this if you guys have some questions and comments. So obviously last year we went through a big challenge with the budget and we made some changes, to reduce the budget across the entire organization. We did eliminate a number of positions in our department, primarily in the expo center and the convention center. So we're doing some restructuring there and how we operate. Service level reductions is an ongoing challenge. Obviously, with inflation going up every year, expenses go up, construction goes up, and we have to try to figure out how to make that up and balance that service with increased costs. Deferred maintenance again is another one. It's hard for us to keep up with everything based on the costs, especially since COVID. It's even become more difficult keeping up with construction costs and maintaining and rebuilding playgrounds, trails, that type of thing. We've added, as mentioned, a couple divisions to the department, so we're all learning those departments and trying to figure out how we can help them be successful in that transition. The Grand Prix and the World Cup is a huge blessing for the community. We're looking forward to them and being the host for the world. But it does come with challenges where it does take time and effort to make sure that we're planning properly, that we're going to be a good host for the community and for our residents. So it's an exciting, unique opportunity that we have here in Arlington. Artificial intelligence, I'm sure you've heard a lot of it on TV, and we're doing our best to plan for it. In fact, we are working with a software company out of San Francisco to put together a AI master plan or business plan. And going into it, no one's really done a master plan for AI in Parks and Recreation. So we're figuring out what that is. But we're trying to prepare ourselves so we can continue to evolve and really be ahead of evolution and not be on the backside. So we can be more proactive than reactive. So this company is learning with us because their focus is on software registration for Parks and Recreation departments, and we reached out to them because they were doing some series on AI, some webinars, and it's like, how can we better prepare ourselves? And one of the big ways that we've identified is we've created a training ladder for our staff where not everybody has to be an expert in AI, but we need to have experts in the right place in the organization, maybe at different tiers. And then we're going to identify training opportunities for staff at different levels to see where they need to be and to understand AI, so we can all evolve. So that's in the works right now. So we're hoping to have something done maybe by the end of summer. Autonomous mowing, kind of in that same realm of AI. You can see here at the top, and I'm going to let Michael talk about this because it's a project he's been working on.
Yeah, so this past year we made a trade of putting bodies on mowers to have autonomous mowers on all our ball fields. So basically, it all in our park system, you'll still see our contract mowing and happening, but on ball fields, you'll see these little Roomba mowers. So each field will have one. And what's happening is going from one to maybe two mows a week by a human. These mowers are going 3 to 4 times a week. And for a ball field, That's at the best maintenance you can do to keep plush grass on a sports field is mowing consistently along with a nice irrigation regime. So we've launched them all except for Harold Patterson as our last one to come online, but all the other five sports complexes all have autonomous mowers now.
Yeah, on that same kind of robot type mentality, I don't know if any of you have been in QT recently. They have a little cleaning, floor mopping robot that goes around and cleans the floors. We're going to be setting up a demo of one of those probably in about a week at Active. That'll go around and clean the floor. It cleans about 6 to 8,000 square feet an hour, um, which is a lot. It goes back in when the water's dirty. It goes into a docking station. It dumps the water. It fills back up. It goes back out on the floor. Um, so right now we're looking at the ROI on that, and we think that in the first year we would pay for the robot based on the service that we provide. And then the future, if the lifespan of that robot is 5 years, we'd have 4 years of free service basically. So we're looking on how we can do things differently. And in turn, we could actually do it better because we can have that robot working at a much faster pace and cleaning the floor even more often if we want to. Now it's not perfect. The robot can't get behind doors and then little cracks, that type of thing. So we still have to do some TLC things, but that's one aspect. And then we're also demoed in the process of ordering 2 range pickers for our driving range at both of our golf courses, Tierra Verde and Texas Rangers. For example, Tierra Verde spends about $100,000 in staffing a year to pick the range. So that's an employee driving equipment, picking up the balls, getting out, picking the ones that are stuck in the ground, that type of thing. The range picker costs about $59,000. So in the first 8 months, we can pay that off basically in saving that time. And the next couple of years, we won't have any expenses. Now, we'll still have to have some staff supporting that equipment because it's not 100% human free. But that'll give that staff member time to do some other things that could be TLC on the park, as well as potentially save some money. So that's how we're trying to kind of reinvent what we do. The performance one, we talked a little bit earlier about the percentage of revenue that we generate as an organization. We are very aggressive in cost recovery, and that's the philosophy that we've had as an organization for a number of years. So we try to operate as much as we can as a business to cover the costs that we have, and so we're very strategic and purposeful in how we operate. At the same time, that at times that can contradict with equity across the city. So we have to make sure that we have opportunities to try to balance that, and we do that through scholarships and those types of efforts to make sure that we're really meeting the needs of every community member. Security and vandalism. I know Michael has done a lot to expand cameras across the park system, and we continue to do that on a yearly basis. We do get our share of vandalism. Michael, you want to talk a little bit about security and vandalism?
Yeah, so I'd say about 5 years ago, we wouldn't have any cameras in our system. So a lot of our, usually around infrastructure, restroom facilities, concession stands, things of that nature, we've had a lot of break-ins and vandalism and just overall mischief. And so we've started we started with our pools, we're expanding to our rec centers, and now we're into our park system itself. And so I'd say maybe 20% of our 103 parks we have now have some sort of monitoring system. So it's definitely beneficial. It helps us, stop the stuff we don't want in our parks. We've actually had some partnerships with APD that they've stopped some of the folks who have and caught some of the folks that's done this vandalism. So we're just going to keep expanding that program throughout our park system moving forward.
Do you want to talk about invasives? Because I know you've been working on that too.
The what? I'm sorry.
Invasives.
Oh yeah, our invasive species. So um, I know most of this group probably heard us bring in goats for the past few years. And so what we did is a trial program with getting rid of Chinese privet. And we've used the North 40 of the Randall Mill complex as kind of our guinea pig. And we've broke it up into 3 sections. And we've studied the fact of if we just have goats, what does that look like? If we do mechanical mowing and goats, what does that look like? And then if we do mechanical mowing, goats, and herbicides, what does that look like? And so we've been doing that for the past 3 years now. And all in all, honestly, it's the combination of all three. The more mechanical mowing you do and spraying, and then you can bring back goats when the privet is in a baby state and not in a mature state, is when it helps the most. And so we've seen a large, probably 6 or 7 acres of fully eradicated privet in the North 40 area. So we're going to try to expand that program. We own our own forestry mower now. That was a part of this to try to get the equipment we need, so we don't have to contract it out all the time. And we've been training folks to be on the machinery. So all in all, we've probably cleared, not eradicated, but cleared over 100 acres of privet in the past 5 years. And so we're just gonna keep expanding that program. It's a never ending battle, as a lot of y'all know.
How about KR Bluestem, Michael?
KR Bluestem is a huge challenge. It can grow in a matter of days on a median. There there are, this may shock some folks, there are some people out there who believe it's a wonderful grass, but to us it's an invasive, and it's like stickers. If you ever dealt with those sticker burrs, it's really hard to get rid of. It would take a plethora of herbicides multiple times a year to do that. So that's a huge challenge as well.
Yeah, we can mow it, and 2 days later we have to go back out and mow it again, and we get a number of complaints. Just it's a huge challenge for us. Age lighting. So we're working on replacing lighting at Vandergrift Park this spring, but we have the old style lighting on our athletic fields. Obviously, that's not saving us a lot of money in regards compared to LEDs, and it's obviously a higher level of maintenance as well. So we're working on a plan to try to figure out how we replace all our light fixtures at our sporting facilities. Um, and then in tune with that, we're also looking at the difference between artificial turf and natural grass. We had a tournament, for example, this past December, and it was a national tournament that Michael was working with our CBB on. And we had families coming from across the country, and we just happened to get monsooned on Thursday night, Friday morning, and we had to cut back on the number of fields that they could use. And it was touch and go whether we were going to have to cancel or not. And we don't want to do that, especially when people spend money to come here for a weekend or a couple days. It's an economic development opportunity for the city that we help foster. And by canceling that, that would be an issue, and most likely that tournament wouldn't want to come back. So we worked through it and we're able to make it happen for them. But the challenge there is, and even with our residents, we have so much demand for athletic space. We could fit more people on more frequently fields if they were artificial. You can play, 5 minutes after it stops raining, where on a baseball field now we can't do that. So it is obviously a much greater investment. It's about $1.5 million for a full-size soccer field. But we don't have to mow it. You don't have to irrigate it. So there's other cost benefits related to that. And obviously we could turn around and rent it out more for local leagues as well as tournaments. So that's something that we're looking at, but that's going to take some capital to make that happen. And then one thing that actually Grace and I had talked about, and it definitely kind of comes home with you guys, is volunteering. It's critical for the operation of our department. especially in some of those high focus areas in subject matters where we can use people and their passion, their education, and their interest. Our numbers as an organization, both in Parks and Recreation as well as Animal Services, volunteering numbers are going down. And we're struggling with trying to figure out how to reach the new generation of people to get them involved. People aren't volunteering like they used to. So it's an organizational challenge for us right now, and it's something that we're going to have to dig deep in and figure out how we're going to handle that moving forward. But it is concerning. I know you guys have spent a lot of time within our park system, whether it's Molly Holler or Cherry Capar or River Legacy. There's a lot of passion and sweat equity in our park system by our community, and we don't want that to go for naught. So we need to continue that legacy moving forward. So that's something that we need to continue to work and talk with you guys on, and how we transition to new volunteers and a new force at some point in time. So that's an issue that we're definitely have on our radar. And then ADA digital compliance is something that's on the short term. This spring, we're supposed to have especially our website, all ADA compliant. So we've been shuffling a lot of those efforts from a media standpoint to make sure that people with those challenges can use our platforms, whether it's social media or website. I'll pause there because there's a lot on that slide. Any questions, comments?
Excuse me, Gary, how long does that artificial turf last?
Yeah, Michael,
I mean,
we've been hearing 10 years, but if you take care of it, it definitely can last longer.
Yeah, that's correct. It depends on the type you get, and the style you get. It does require minimal maintenance, but it still requires maintenance. And so, depending on usage, if you let it be used normal, let's say 800 to 1,000 hours a year and maintain it, it could last anywhere between 10 and 15 years.
so it would pay for itself?
Yes.
Thank you.
Grace, I think you're muted.
Sorry, yes. That artificial turf, is it porous or does
Yes.
the water pool on top of it?
No, it's porous, and there's a drainage system that would take it back to stormwater, just like a normal field.
So it does require some maintenance.
It
If that,
does. It's minimal compared to a regular field, a regular grass field. But yes, there's still always maintenance, and it still requires a little bit of water, but not nearly as much as a regular grass field. And so we would save, help uh, the ecological system out by not watering as much, not mowing as much, things of that nature. But yeah, there's still a little bit of maintenance.
um, that's very interesting. I'm kind of skeptical about that because I'd prefer something natural, but if it does have some benefits, um, about the goats, the three mode program seems to work best, but um, can goats graze on land that has been treated with herbicides? I mean, they're not toxic. There's no residual effect of the.
No, once it obviously it's not immediate, and I don't remember the exact time frame. But once that time frame is gone, then yes, they can come back and eat on the the vegetation. The thing we found out about goats, they're fantastic, they're wonderful. However, they need to be on site longer than a week, right? They almost need to live there. So, to use Blackland Prairie as an example, if we were to have goats basically live there, it would maintain itself as a prairie versus trying to just come back once a year to eat as much privet as we can. So that's the only downside to goats. I think it's more beneficial for the environment, obviously. But it, like I said, they need to live there for the most part.
What's the downside of that?
Just having somebody that can take care of the goats for us.
Okay, so these would be your goats, not a service that you would hire. That
Most
would,
likely. I bet you we could do it either way. We haven't really looked into it, but there's a couple cities, Carrollton and another one that are they're buying a small herd, and I'm talking like 10 goats, and kind of doing their own pilot programs in that nature.
You might be able to get some of the farm programs that are raising goats over in Dalworthington Gardens. They've got little, people who care for their little goats and show them and all. But I bet those kind of kids would be possibly good bets to care for our goats if we had them.
yeah.
Michael, the goats don't eat the entire plant though. They're only eating up to like 4 or 5 feet, what they can get to, and everything above that's still active, correct?
Yeah, correct. Obviously for privet, as long as we mow it down, it gets the ground roots and that kind of thing. But yeah, a goat will eat up to about 5 to 6 feet.
So goat's not going to solve 100% of the problem. And Michael, how many acres do you think we have of privet from an estimate across the
Oh,
the 4,600?
1,000. I mean, we've got a lot.
Yeah. So we're not going to goat ourselves out of this privet situation.
Yeah.
It's a huge issue that unless we put a lot of resources towards it, we are not going to get under control because the birds keep eating the berries and they keep growing. And unfortunately, it's choking out any new growth underneath it.
Yes.
Any other questions on this slide?
Well, about artificial intelligence, have you explored the possibility, or would you be open to the possibility of having like dogs do the what do you call it, range picking? Because you can train a dog to search and find and retrieve just about anything.
The Yeah, the only challenge with that is we can't have the dogs out there when the range is open. So we pick the range when we're open. There's a caged obviously trailer that we go out there, John Deere type thing, to pick up the golf balls and drive. The robot can work 24/7, so that can work in the middle of the night. Even when we're open. So we have people hitting golf balls, 7 o'clock in the morning till sundown. The range, the picker can go out there and pick golf balls up that entire time. If it gets hit, it gets hit. It's not a big deal. It's designed for that. So sending a dog out there when it's open is obviously going to be an issue.
You can send them in the middle of the night. They'll
Yeah.
hunt by scent,
Yeah.
not by
Yeah.
visual. So,
Yeah.
but it just occurred to me that if there's an article recently on Facebook of all places about crows being taught to pick trash and basically eat it, and how they're free. They eat what they pick sometimes. Anyway, if it can be done by an organism instead of a machine,
Yeah.
I'd look into it. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I
something
think goats are kind of the same way. Goats eat rocks. I mean,
yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go
yeah,
on.
no, your
This
point
is
is
great.
well taken. I mean, we need to be totally outside the box. We can't live in the box.
Yeah.
Because if we're living in the box, we're not making any progress and we're getting behind. We need to be in front of it and outside the box, thinking how we can do things differently. So your point is spot on for sure. So just go into some current projects that we're working on from a partnership and sponsorship, kind of continuing what we just mentioned, thinking outside the box. We've had a 10-year agreement in relationship with Texas Health Resources with sponsorship throughout our park system. We're going to be going to council next Tuesday to expand that at Active. So it's going to be the Active Center powered by Texas Health Resources. And that total contract is about $1.1 million over 10 years. We do have some expenses associated with that with a sales team that we have that are helping us acquire these partnerships. So that's the gross amount. But again, it's looking for ways to help subsidize our operations and reduce the cost and reduce the tax burden to the community. We Go Ape is something that actually Michael and I worked on when I was here the first time around, and Michael was able to get here in River Legacy, and that is something that we wouldn't been able to do as an organization where we partnered with Go Ape, where we have a high ropes course, and we get a percentage of sales with from them. So the more successful they are, the more successful we are. So those are more type of opportunities that we are continuously looking forward to, and we're hoping to have some other announcements later this year on potential partnerships down the road. Active, mentioned this a little bit earlier. We're over 12,000 members at that facility. It's been hugely popular. It is great to see the amount of people that are there every single day, being quote unquote active and leading a better lifestyle. So, we definitely want to work with Texas Health Resources to see if we can't do some sort of white paper study and see if we can get some people to opt into a study to see kind of where they're at as a baseline when they start at active and where they are a year from now, and see how their physical, mental health, social well-being is as a person, so we can use that to tell our story. We try to tell our story a lot from emotion. Now we're trying to tell it by data, and if we can tell it through mental medical profession, would even be better on how we impact our community to the positive. So it's exciting. It's a destination facility for people in our industry that are coming to active and looking and seeing what we've done as an organization and as a community and how successful it is. It's a dynamic facility, and I hope you guys have all been there. Michael, do you have anything you want to add about active?
No, it's going like gangbusters. Unbelievable.
Okay. This is a new one, a kind of another partnership opportunity we're looking at. We just received bids for this, and it's a Amazon type kayak rental facility where you put a code in, the gate opens up, and you can pull your kayak out or your paddleboard, your paddles, and your life jackets, and you can go jump on Lake Arlington or Johnson Creek. So we're looking at this for Richard Green Linear Park, Bowman Springs, and Richard Simpson Parks. It's a cost share opportunity. So we're evaluating, we had 3 submittals that were submitted to us. So it's another way that we can provide service. We don't have a ton of capital in some aspects, depending on what we choose. We may not have any capital up front. We just take a smaller percentage, but it's now a service that we can provide to our residents. And you don't have to go out and buy a kayak. You can just and store it in your garage. You can just go down here and use it when you want to. And we're also looking something like this for bikes in the entertainment district as well. Michael mentioned earlier about sculptures and murals. So a couple things here. Bottom left is Heartfulness. That was a different version of Heartfulness, but that was installed on February 5th in Robert Cluck Linear Park, just south of Randall Mill Road. The bottom right is a sculpture called the Texas Golden Boot, and that is being donated by the World Cup. You can go online and donate money to that and get your name on a brick and be a part of the World Cup story in the history. That's a legacy program that they're leaving here after the World Cup's over. That is going to be located off of Cowboys Way and Stadium Drive. Top left is Eye of Hope. That project is on hold. We're going to revisit that after the World Cup. We had hoped to get that in before the World Cup, but they didn't get it. They felt like they couldn't get it in time. So that's been put on hold. And then the one in the center is the bridge abutments on the Kim Brimer Bridge, which is their Nolan Ryan Expressway road right there by the Medal of Honor, that bridge. Underneath on the abutments, we get graffiti and vandalism on a regular basis. So, staff goes in there and paints a white block or a white square over top of the graffiti, and that doesn't look great either. So we are out to bid as we speak for artists to paint a mural under the bridge. And what you see here is actually a video projection onto the wall. What we might do in phase 2 is shoot a projection onto the wall to make that mural come alive and move and give it some excitement. And then we can also add a little flair to it. So, for instance, all of a sudden you see a Indy car drive by on the mural, and it's kind of celebrating and honoring the IndyCar race that's here that weekend. So it's just another way to bring a mural to life and use technology to make it a little bit more exciting. So we have a handful of projects that we're working on, kind of in the arts and cultural world. And then one other thing that we're working on is a cultural district designation for the entertainment district. And what that is, it's an application process. You have to work through the state. There's a lot of work that has to be done to get to that point. And the benefits are, economic development, promotion, growth, that type of thing. But the state will also give entities that are art related in that district opportunities to apply for grants. So if we get that designation, Parks and Rec could apply for it. The Medal of Honor Museum could apply for American or Arlington Museum of Art could apply for those types of things to help their operations and the programs and services they offer. So this is one way that we're kind of leaning into culture as that's added to our department. And another exciting way that we can help stimulate tourism and economic development in our community. River Legacy Park, I'm going to let Michael talk about this and all the work that we've been doing at the park itself.
So back almost 10 years ago now, the Trinity River has changed, and so the banks of the river started eroding into our trail system. And so for the past decade, we've been redesigning and reconfiguring our trail. So we've moved 2.5 miles of trail to the south of the river in order to help erosion issues. And that was just completed this past fall, almost a year ahead of time. So that's pretty exciting. You don't hear that very often about projects coming in earlier. And then we've also, the other part of this is connecting the 66-mile DFW Discovery Trail from downtown Fort Worth to Dallas. And so we're now also connected on the far west to Fort Worth and the far east to actually Fort Worth. It's kind of a weird configurement where Fort Worth's on the east as well. And so that just got completed. So we're real excited. We have a new bridge over the Trinity on the far west of the park and a brand new trail that runs all the way. It's about 8 miles now. We used to have a little over 7, and now with the additions, we have about 8 miles. So that's been an exciting project, long in the making, that we just completed.
Michael, you want to keep taking these park development projects?
Yeah, sure will. This is a new community park. This is at Park Springs and Pleasant Ridge. N.L. Robinson was a pastor of Mount Olive Baptist Church for a very, very long time in North Arlington, staple in our community in the religious sector. And so we council about 2 years ago, maybe longer, maybe 3 years ago, named this park after N.L. Robinson. And so we are underway. We are just about done with the design of this park, and so we'll start construction here in the next probably 6 months or so, maybe 8. We're having to do an interesting, as we're designing it, it came up that we had to do a little historical study here. So it must have been some sort of historical homestead back in the day. So that's not normal to go through this process, but we are. And so it'll have a nice little playground there in the middle, small little parking lot, because as I talked earlier, a neighborhood park's really meant for the neighborhood to walk in, use it, and go home kind of thing. And then to the north there, we'll be connecting to some sidewalks and things that'll give some connectivity to the neighborhood. This is Helen Wessler Park. So some may remember this. Back in 2018, we did a land swap with AISD, and our original Helen Wessler Park became I don't remember the first name. It's Rodriguez Middle School. It used to be Carter Junior High. Now it's Rodriguez, I believe, Junior High, right there on Sherry Street. And so their old Roark Elementary School site is what we got out of the land swap. It's a 5 acres just south of Abram near the GM plant. Um, that's Carter Drive and Roberts Circle, maybe a quarter mile to the west of 360. And so basically the agreement was, you're taking a park away from our system. You're gonna AISD, you're gonna build us what we're destroying for you, kind of thing. So what the benefit for the parks is we had an aging park with an aging public interactive water feature, which is basically a fancy name for a splash pad. And so we now get brand new from this land swap. So there's that playground there is depicting an all-inclusive playground. It'll be our first neighborhood playground all-inclusive park. Meadowbrook is the first community all-inclusive playground. And then that splash pad there in the lower right-hand corner is kind of replacing the old Helen Wessler play pool. And then it'll have some fitness stations and things of that nature. So a nice little neighborhood park there. Al Rollins Park. This is in the south central, I guess you would call it, Park Springs and Green Oaks. Just to the east of that, there's a library and a fire station right there. And in connection to that library, we have a park. And so it's been named after Al Rollins for many, many years. Al Rollins, for those you know, had a design firm here in Arlington, Schrickle Rollins, and he helped design a lot of our parks in our system. And so council years ago decided to name a park after Al Rollins, and now finally we get to bring this to fruition. Again, a neighborhood park, just some trails, a wonderful playground that's a nod to his civil engineering. So there's going to be some components that talk about civil engineering because that's what he was forever. Al was also a part of our city government for a while. I can't remember all the hats he had in those years, but he was a part of our system as well, and he was involved in parks for many years. So we're excited about this one. This one should open in early May.
Michael,
Yes.
what is that? The surfaces there, the different colors?
That's a pour in place surfacing, so it's truly ADA accessible. So all our playgrounds are accessible. However, those wood chips, it's called EWF, but you see those wood chips, it's hard. It's accessible, but it's not easy.
That's
So
the
this is like
brown.
a rubber material. And so what happens here, it's not permeable, but it sheet flows to a storm drain and then we collect it. But it allows wheelchairs and all sorts to roll and play and be a part of the whole playground.
That's the brown or that's the
The
kind of bluish green
the
in the
blue
back.
and green is what that's depicting. The brown is a crushed granite. We're
Oh,
having an
okay.
iconic Al Rollins sign built like an Instagram moment, so to speak, so you can interact with that sign there, and that's just a decomposed granite.
Just
And
doesn't
so
have a whole lot of.
where did you say this was?
This is just maybe a half a mile east of Park Springs on Green Oaks. The Southwest, I think it's called the Southwest Library on Green Oaks, and right next
Okay.
to it's Fire Station 8, maybe, but it's right there, right next to it. Also, here's a legacy project for the World Cup and FIFA. So these are called mini pitches, and we have two currently in our system at Bob Cook Park. And so FIFA and the World Cup wanted to give us another one. And so we looked at some different areas. We landed on George Stevens Park down there in downtown, just north of downtown on Sanford. And it's across from Mount Olive Baptist Church. And we've picked this because we're hoping this will revitalize that park. Unfortunately, it's a park that we have a lot of homeless issues, a lot of vagrancy, just hanging out, monopolizing the amenity. And so we are removing that amenity, the pavilion that they monopolize, and we're putting up at no cost to the city. It's all being donated from FIFA, and another little mini pitch. So it's a revitalization effort for a urban park. So we're pretty excited about that. This is Lana Wolf sector, so attached to Julia Bergen Park. So it's turned sideways. Second Street would be on the north side of the park, obviously, and so this is our next connector. So the so on the far right of this plan is the current trail that actually goes all the way into UTA now. We finished that part of Julia Bergen Park recently, and so this will be the next sector to connect to Second Street, and then after that, we'll connect into Meadowbrook Park. Eventually, we will have a trail that goes from the entertainment district all the way through our parks into UTA, so students could traverse that if they'd like into the entertainment district. But it's a great connectivity piece for us. And then we talked a little bit about turf fields. So this is just one of a vision here of what we can do to help our sports tourism by going to turf fields versus regular grass. Another vision project is to have a field house, so something that can house mostly indoor sports. You can have basketball, pickleball, volleyball. You can even do an indoor soccer version. It's called futsal. And so this is a large gymnasium, 12 courts kind of thing, to where you can have multiple different sporting events come in, mainly high school and below, to where they come in and they do tournaments and things of that nature. But that's definitely a vision project. Somewhere tied close to the entertainment district is the hope to add to that sports tourism feel.
This was an AI generated image. We've talked a lot about a multi-gen facility. There's some comments in our comp plan discussions about a cultural center. So I thought this was kind of interesting. It kind of looks like a moth type of thing, that would be unique. That could be just something inspirational, an image that could get people excited about a multi-gen cultural center, something that the entire community could use with various types of activities. And then, where do we go from here? Michael's been with the city for 20 years. I've been with the city. I've come back, so I'm learning a lot of what's going on, some of the challenges that we're facing, and some of the needs that we need to have as an organization. And hearing from groups like you guys that are heavily involved in our organization, taking all that information and figure out where we're going to go with it. So obviously, we want to rebuild our vision for the next gold medal team. It's been 6-7 years since we received the gold medal. So that's kind of like the climax of the parks and recreation industry. It's where you want to be. We need to update a strategic plan, and our parks, recreation, and culture master plan needs to be redone. That's part of our accreditation. That's a requirement. So we're working on the strategic plan as we speak, and we're going to kick off probably the master plan maybe later this summer after the World Cup. We're getting more aggressive with outgoing and creative marketing opportunities. I mentioned earlier about data and technology providing guiding for decision making for us. So we need to make sure we have the right data in front of us so we can make the best decisions possible. We need to be continuously innovative and look for enterprise development solutions to push us into new places. I had mentioned we need to be living outside the box is very important. We need to have high standards for service, whether it's community leadership, customer service, customer interaction, and maintenance. And balancing that with the resources we have is a challenge. So we're trying to figure out right now where we're at and where we want to go from a service level standpoint. Expansion of the public art and sculptures. We talked a lot about that this evening, as with culture being added to our organization. Trail connectivity wherever we can. Obviously, Johnson Creek and finishing that project. That was a long-term vision for the community, and we're so close. We need to keep pushing to get that done. Continued our community engagement efforts.
Get down.
We're here for you, and we need to hear what you guys need and want, and make sure we're balancing those wants and needs with everything we do to try to provide that service level. Supporting destination and sports tourism. We are economic development. There's no doubt about it. And we want to continue to foster that however we can. If we get more people here, more sales tax, that helps our operations as an organization and really balances out sales tax burden. So any way we can do that to help make our business successful and create tourism in our community, that's good for Arlington. And obviously something that's passionate for you guys is preservation of our existing natural spaces and make sure we're maintaining those at a high level. That environmental leadership in dealing with our invasives, they're creeping into our green spaces. And then from the cost recovery standpoint, continue to increase traditional and non-traditional revenue sources. So again, we can reduce the burden of taxes to the community. So that's it. We'll pause there and we'll be open for questions.
Gary, there are a few in the chat. Do you want to read them, or would you like me to read them to you?
Go ahead and read them. That'd be great.
Jim Domke said, "Growing native plants, ? Parks, mediums, etc. saves watering." I don't know if there's a question there. You want to address that?
Michael, do you want to take that? I don't know if we're growing plants, but we're installing them.
That's true. Yes. Obviously, with our partners, they're now moving into the greenhouse recently, starting to move in. They do grow some native plants, as y'all know. But our philosophy is that's what we install in all our landscape beds is 95% native. There are some instances to where we're gonna put in some, seasonal color, but for the most part, in all our landscape beds, we go with native plants for that watering issue for sure.
Okay, the next question is there any way to know if reduction in volunteering is unique to Arlington, or is it part of a larger trend?
When I was in Denton, I don't think our numbers were super strong. They were good in targeted areas. Now we had Keep Denton Beautiful, which had been around for 30 plus years. So that's an institution in Denton. So they have a strong baseline to work with. I know we've been trying to rekindle our volunteer efforts and pushing hard and going out and talking to people. We just need to keep pushing that as much as we can and continue to see how other best practices are happening across other departments and try to learn from them.
What is the status of College Hills Park? A garden and bench project was proposed.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about that one. College Hills Park is a small little neighborhood park on the UTA campus, and we've replaced the playground recently as of like a few months ago. But I'm unaware of a garden and a bench.
Carol, did you want to expand on that? Or she?
It would, sorry, I was muted. It was proposed not too long ago by a master naturalist, Jose Aguilar and Derek. I'm sorry. His name, Devin,
Yep.
is working on that. Just wanted to know what the status was because we hadn't heard anything back about it.
And this was at College Hills Park?
Yes.
Okay. No, I
It's
can
just
find out
right there by the sign.
Yeah, I can circle back on that. That might just be something staff's working on that I'm not
Okay.
aware of just yet. So I'll circle back with you, Carol.
And then the next question I wrote was about Veterans Park. The in the parking lot, you have those islands that are just nothing. Do you have any plans for that, or what's the deal with those that right there in the parking lot at the front of Veterans Park?
On the north
Yes, we
side.
do.
Yes,
Yeah,
on the north side.
yeah, we've lost some vegetation there. We had a couple trees in some of those medians, if you want to call them that, islands, I guess you would say. It's kind of a long-term plan. We don't have anything immediate just yet,
Hmm.
um, but we will be looking to redo those.
So nothing before the soccer stuff. I mean, that would be a destination for people, tourists to come visit, wouldn't it?
It
Or
it definitely could be for sure. I would, if they looked up and want to come see the Veterans Park memorials. But at the moment, no, it's not on the forefront of replacing just yet. But it's definitely on the list.
okay, thank you.
Hmm.
A recent Star Telegram article noted that a grant that funded goats for privet removal had been recalled. Is there any future plan for continued privet management at Crystal Canyon?
So that's a great question. It was recalled. We had a grant. We got through about 50% of it or so before it got recalled. We did have the goats out for multiple years out there. With the terrain at Crystal Canyon, that's something that in order to do a privet management plan, it might have to be a controlled burn, or it might have to be a goats on a more regular basis. It's something that we can't do mechanical mowing there, because of the terrain. So that's going to be a challenge, Jan. I think you put that question there. It's something we're definitely interested in. That's a park we focused on when we brought the goat program in. But now it's just going to be a bigger challenge that we got to work through.
So you mentioned controlled burns. Is that in the future?
Yes, it is. We actually just had someone go through a program what to be called what's a burn master. And so, Gary, are we? Do we have a time frame for the first one?
Yeah, I think we're going to try to do something in the fall. We're kind of past the point right now this spring by the time we could get something up and running. Slight chance we might be able to do it in the summer, but it really depends on what's going on. We're looking at a couple locations on a golf course, so that way we have significant irrigation really close that we can also get a fire truck out. So Mark Claiborne, who's our golf course superintendent of facilities, went with another fire staff member to get trained. So we have two people in the organization. Fire department's real excited about it because they can use it for practice and training efforts. And we're excited about it because we can get rid of some invasives as well as, kind of clean up some of our open space. So we're really excited. We had tried doing this, 10 plus years ago. And at the time, the city wasn't really interested in heading in that direction. So a new fire chief had done this in Dallas. So he was all about it. So it's been a great partnership so far. So we're looking forward to giving this a try and see how it functions.
That's encouraging. Grace, you have a question?
I wanted to know if we have a plan for Meadowbrook Park.
We do have a master plan, but we don't have the funding for it.
And the next question is, we'll revisit that sometime, I'm sure, when we get the funding. But the next question is, what, how do you envision the collaboration between Parks Department and volunteers like us? I mean, can you identify areas that you need help with grant writing or with growing? Also, um, are you open to the possibility of re-establishing a tree farm for Arlington?
Yeah, I'll let Michael take the tree farm. I think that's been an ongoing discussion.
Yeah. So we're not opposed to having a tree farm, Grace. What we found is that uh, the cost benefit analysis is not in our favor. It's easier and cheaper for us just to go buy from a cheap tree farm rather than growing them ourselves and maintaining them ourselves. And so that's the challenge. We're not opposed to them. Obviously, we like trees in Arlington, and so it's just that cost benefit analysis, to be honest.
Okay, so for me, the issue is that sometimes we use some tree species that are less than desirable for a certain area because it's all that's available commercially, and we have to buy them from somebody. If we grow our own, um, would you be open to discussing the possibility of having a collaboration where volunteers do the work and you provide the land to grow on?
I definitely think we're open to that discussion. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're never opposed to that. It's just a matter of if it works for all of us. Absolutely.
Yeah, sustainability is the biggest issue. To kind of address your first question, we need to continuously be aggressive in attracting, keeping, building volunteers across the organization, especially in areas that we might not be strong in, or we might not have the knowledge base or resources to do. And you guys are a good example. You guys have a lot of knowledge in certain things, and you guys are helping us, grow and foster that initiative in the natural spaces, those type of things, greenhouse, where it might be not cost effective for us to do it. Kind of like Michael said with the tree farm, if we could do it with volunteers, that'd be fantastic. Sustainability obviously is always going to be a concern. Making sure that we have people that can come out there and take care of it 5 years from now, 10 years from now, as we invest in the infrastructure. But if we can make it work and be successful, I think we're willing to try anything. Again, thinking it outside the box, we need to investigate it. I mean, sometimes we work hard to get to a yes. We can't always get to a yes, but that's our intention, is try to figure it out. But sometimes it can't pencil up for whatever reason. But we cannot survive without volunteers. We need volunteers.
If I can add a third question, it would be, um, have are you in collaboration, or are you in talking to the water department about water saving, water conservation classes, or seminars, or some kind of activities? I'm very concerned about the future of water in our area, and how it's water is the new oil. And but I know water department is active there, but Parks Department has a role to play, by example, if nothing else. So it's just, it seems like a perfect partnership, water and parks. Um, Native plants, of course, are involved. Water thrifty species are involved. There's all kinds of uh, possibilities about how to collaborate to make Arlington more aware about the need to conserve water, and what to do about it. I'm sorry. I'll get off my soapbox.
Mike, were you saying something?
No, I was just
Okay.
I love Grace. I love it when you're on your soapbox. You know that. But we definitely are taking measures. I'll just give you one quick example. In our field maintenance area, we are retraining all our folks of how, because obviously that does take more water, right? In order to have the fields we want. And so we're retraining that we don't necessarily need all the water that we used to dump on our fields. And so that's one area, one small example to say, let's retrain them on what we can and can't do to where it does say water. So yes, Grace, to answer your question, we're being very conservative with that.
Okay, that um is all have been all the questions. I think we're getting near the end of our time. If you want to do you have any closing remarks? We really appreciate both you and Michael giving us what's going on, telling us about what's going on with the parks.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of reiterate that we have a lot of initiatives that are on the table that we're working on. We're going to continuously work and push ourselves to work outside the box because we have to. We only have so many resources that we can use, both financial and human, and we need to use them the best we can to maximize the resources and opportunities we provide for the community. So it's important that we continue, working with you guys with how you're helping our park service, our park system, and how we can continue to evolve and be better.
Well, again, thank you very much. We all, like I said, appreciate you coming and look forward to working with you all even more.
You
Indeed.
bet. Thanks.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you,
Definitely.
guys.
Thanks for having us.
Gary and Michael.
Thanks, guys, it's really helpful.
Yep. Thank you. Anytime. Just let us know.
Okay.
I
Appreciate
think
your
I speak
time.
for everybody when I say you can count on us.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, come to us, we'll make it happen.
Awesome.
Except
We
for money.
appreciate that.
We
Yeah.
can't give you money, but we can give you labor.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.
Good.
Bye.
Thank you.